salt? I was told that everyone here would be from Novi. So I'm going to speak about Lord Jagannatha, Lord of the universe. All of you participated in the Rath Yatra recently?
Yeah.
How many of you did? Oh. So all of you have a good chance of going back to Godhead now. It is said that anybody who dances, pulls, serves, Godhead, there's a good chance. It's not guaranteed you'll go back. If you keep acting correctly, then you'll go back to God. So that's why I said good chance. So who is Lord Jagannatha? Lord Jagannatha is Lord of the universe. So there are many versions of this story, but I'll just give you a simpler one, a condensed version. Long, long ago in Satyuga, there lived a king called Indradumna. He was a very pious king. His only meditation was how he could serve the Lord more intensively. The present leaders have no such concept, isn't it? In the Vedic days, the leaders would all be God conscious. Even today people remember Ram Rajya, isn't it? Ram Rajya is a period when Lord Ram was ruling over the planet. Why do people remember Ram Rajya? Because Lord Ram's rule was so nice. He cared. Sorry. He cared for the citizens like a father or mother would care for the child. He would go in disguise to see if anybody had any complaint. This morning, we spoke from the 4th canto, which described the instructions that King Prithu gave to his citizens. You can even dream of such an instruction being given by any head of state? No. So King Jagannatha was a God-conscious king who constantly meditated on serving the Lord, whose only mission in life was to serve the Lord. One day, and these children from ours, and these are children. Can someone tell them? So, one day, a sage came to the king's palace. These days, if you want to go to the White House, is it easy? If you want to see the head of state, can you see him? No. You can see them on television, not personally. But in the previous ages, anyone could walk into the palace of the king and get an audience. So one day a sage came to the palace of the king and said, "King, I have special information for you. On this planet, there's a deity manifested by the name of Neela Madhav. And that deity is so beautiful, so attractive, so charming, that if you ever got a chance to see it, your whole life will be successful." And he said this and ran away. But he didn't tell the king where Neela Madhav is located, which side, etc. There are two types of deities. Some deities are self-manifested, and so most of them are carved. Just like the deities of Gauratai, Radha Kuchbihari, Srinathji, and Jagannatha Subhadra Balram that we have in the Detroit Center. They're all handmade, made by artists, as per the direction of the scriptures, and installed by the acharyas. And that's nearly all the deities, not nearly, all the deities in ISKCON are carved and installed. We don't have any self-manifested deities. Self-manifested deity means the deity manifests itself. Nobody makes it. Like Balaji is considered to be a self-manifested. Srinathji is Natwara, is considered to be a self-manifested deity. So the king was very keen to get an audience of their lordship Sri Leela Radha Madhav. And the king called all the Brahmanas present. And he asked the Brahmanas, have you heard of deity by the name of Leela Madhav? And they all said, no, we never heard it. So the king deputed all his Brahmanas to go all over the planet, village to village, town to town, city to city, in search for this deity of Leela Madhav. So some Brahmanas were sent to the north, some to the south, some to the east, some to the west. And these Brahmanas went to all the temples, all the villages, all the houses, but they couldn't find Leela Madhav. They couldn't find any trace of Leela Madhav. All of them came back and told the king, we searched very intensively. We went to every corner, but we could not find any trace of this deity of Leela Madhav. So the king was heartbroken because he had great desire to have darshan of Leela Madhav. All the Brahmanas came back except one, and his name was Vidyapati. He did not come back. He said, I must find the deity for my little king. So he stayed on in the forest, hoping that one day he may gather information that would give pleasure to the king. So Vidyapati was staying in the jungle. And in the jungle, there was another tribe whose leader was a personality called Vishwasu, who was a very pious man. His family tradition was taking care of pigs. But he himself was a very elevated devotee of the Lord. And he had one daughter called Lalita. So Vishwasu was living in the forest in a house with his daughter. And Vidyapati was also in the forest hoping to find Ilma. So gradually Vidyapati got to know Lalita and her father. And Vidyapati was from a strict Brahmin family. Vishwasu was not from a Brahmin family. As we spoke in the lecture this morning, one becomes a Brahmin according to our philosophy, on the basis of guna and not janma. So Vidyapati was very attracted to Lalita's saintly qualities. And Vishwasu got his daughter married to Vidyapati. So they started living in the same house, Vidyapati, Vishwasu, Lalita. Vidyapati noted that Vishwasu goes away in the afternoon or in the evening, and he doesn't come back for a day or two sometimes. And when he comes back, his body has so much fragrance to it, full of sandalwood fragrance, that it will appear that he's coming from heaven. People are very attracted to fragrances, am I right? That's why they have perfumes. And you go to any department store, I haven't been one for at least 20 years. And they usually at the entrance they have the fragrance section. Is that still true? What's true? They have the fragrance section. And you know how these fragrances got developed? Where did they develop the most? In France. All these perfumes, the best perfumes in the world come from France. You don't know? Okay, we all don't buy perfumes. The best fragrances and perfumes of the world come from France. And you know why they got discovered in France? Well, in France, people have a tradition of not taking bath. I used to study in France in '64, I used to live there. And people don't take bath for 2 weeks, 3 weeks. So, generally when you don't take a bath and so on, the body stinks. And in order to hide that stinking, they had to come up with something to counter it. And they came up with the fragrances. So, people use fragrance to attract people's attention also. So, Vidyapati noted that his father-in-law goes away and comes back, and he's so enthusiastic, content, smiling, even though he was living in the forest. And his body was the smell of sandalwood paste. But he was very curious. Where does he go? He doesn't come back in the night. He doesn't come back for 2 days. So he asked his wife, Lalita, where does your father go? He doesn't come in the night. He stays away. His body is so charged with fragrance. Initially, Lalita said, I can't tell you, it's a secret. My father has told me not to tell anyone this. But she said, Vidyapati said, but how can you hide from me? I'm your husband. You have to tell me where your father goes. Then she said, deep in this forest, there's a deity of Neela Madhav. And that deity is very special. It is self-manifested. And that deity is very, very attractive. And nobody on this planet knows where that deity is except my father. He won't tell anyone. He's scared. If the king finds out that there's a deity here, the king will build a big palace for him, for the deity. And then my father, who is from a scheduled caste, will not be allowed to go and worship him. Vidyapati Vishwas always had that fear. Because if the king finds out there's a self-manifested deity, then actually the king would want to build a nice temple for that Lord. And then someone like Vishwas won't be allowed to serve. So he didn't let anybody know where this deity is. So Vidyapati, the moment he heard the word Vishwa, Vidya, Nilmadhav, he was in ecstasy. He said, this is what I've come to search for, the deity of Nilmadhav. Now it appears that I'm finding out where the deity is. So he told his wife, can I see the deity of Nilmadhav? She said, no, my father will never take you. My father won't take anyone. He hasn't even taken me there. So he won't take it. So Vidyapati said, no, but please, try. No harm in trying. So Lalita requested her father for a few days. Initially the father said, no, I will never take anyone there. But she persisted. And finally he agreed. Vishwas said, okay, I'll take my son, husband to see the deity. But on one condition, I will blindfold him, so he will not know how to get to that destination. And when we reach that destination, then I will open the cloth. But till we reach there, he will be blindfolded. So Lalita said, okay. Lalita and her husband made a transcendental plan. She took a bag of mustard seeds, tied it to her husband's dhoti, and the plan was, on the path they would walk, they would keep dropping the mustard seeds. So later on he could know which path to take. And Vidyapati, Vishwasu, finally took his son-in-law, and they both reached where Nilmada was. Where Nilmada was, Vidyapati opened the cloth, and Vishwasu opened the cloth, and his son-in-law Vidyapati got a chance to see the beautiful form of the Lord. When Vidyapati saw the beautiful form of the Lord, he knew, he could see, this was the most beautiful deity he had ever seen in his life. He could understand what that Brahman told the king is true. This is without doubt the most beautiful deity ever to manifest itself. And he was very, very attracted. The Lord descends in the Archa Vigraha form. Archa Vigraha means form. People sometimes criticize us for worshipping the deities, isn't it? They say, hey, what is this? God, and the impersonalists in India say, God has no form. When they don't worship the deity, it's not, but the Lord manifests himself in the deity form, so that we, the conditioned souls, can worship him by dressing him, decorating him, cooking for him, and building temples for him. Why can the Lord manifest himself in a deity form? Is anything impossible for the Lord? The Lord is known as Achintya. Once Narada Muni was going back to give a report to the Lord about his preaching activities. And on the way, he met a Brahmana. The Brahmana knew the Vedic mantras, but he was an impersonalist. Impersonalists have a very limited concept of God. And the Brahmana, when he saw Narada Muni, he said, you're going to give a report to Narayan? He said, yes. Can you ask Narayan, how much longer will I have to suffer from the cycle of birth, in the cycle of birth and death? Narada Muni said, okay. And as Narada Muni was progressing, a cobbler met him. He was a cobbler, but he had firm faith in the Supreme Lord and his inconceivable energies. So the cobbler also told Narada Muni, can you please find out how many more births and deaths I'll have to experience in the mature world? Narada said, okay. So Narada Muni met the Lord, gave his report. And then as he was leaving, he said, I met these two personalities, a Brahmana and a cobbler, and they wanted to know how much longer will they have to suffer in the material world. And the Lord said, tell the Brahmana he will have to suffer many more births and deaths. And tell the cobbler, he'll go back to Godhead at the end of this life. Narada was also surprised. And when they ask you, what was the Lord doing when you answered this question? Tell them he was passing an elephant to the eye of a needle. Can anyone pass an elephant to the eye of a needle? So then Narada Muni came back. We first met the Brahmana. The Brahmana said, did you ask the Lord, how much more will I have to suffer in the cycle of birth and death? Narada said, God said, you'll have to take many more births and deaths. The Brahmana couldn't believe it. He was confident he would go back in this life. The Brahmana said, are you sure you met the Lord? And sometimes, someone will tell you something, but you want to double check when you are doubting. So you try to cross-examine the person and then to make sure that he's telling the truth. So the Brahmana said, okay, tell me, what was the Lord doing when you saw him? And he said, he was passing an elephant to the eye of a needle. And Brahmana said, impossible. I knew you were joking. How can anyone pass an elephant to the eye of a needle? So now when he understood why the Lord told him to say this. Then Narada Muni came to the cobbler. The cobbler said, what did my sweet Lord say? And Narada said, he said, you will go back to God at the end of this life. The cobbler jumped up in ecstasy. But then lovingly he said, what was my dear Lord doing when you met him? He was passing an elephant to the eye of a needle. Oh, he jumped in ecstasy. See how great my Lord is. He's passing an elephant to the eye of a needle. And Narada, in order to double check, Narada Muni said, you really believe this? Passing an elephant to the eye of a needle? Can anyone do that? And the cobbler said, this huge banyan tree under which we are was in a small seed at one time. So if the Lord can plant a huge banyan tree in a small seed, why can't he pass an elephant to the eye of a needle? Now that we can understand why the Lord said what he said. So God is inconceivable. And God descends in the Archa form. In the story of Sakshi Gopal, you see how the deity of Gopal came to the rescue of the Brahmana, isn't it? And there are many wonderful stories of Madhava Puri and the deities also. So those who say that God can't descend in the deity form have a very limited concept of God. The Indian person have a limited concept of God. The Vaishnavas, they offer their food stuff to the deities before eating. And when they lift the plate, they say, God has eaten. Prasad, now you can eat. God has eaten. But the plate is full like before. When you and I eat, the plates become empty. But when God eats, the plate remains full. And it's food stuff mixed with the saliva of the Lord. So how does that happen? God eats with his eyes and ears. With his eyes he sees what you're offering. With his ears he hears the prayers that you offer. And he eats with his ears and eyes. So God is inconceivable. So Narada Muni, this deity of Nilmadhav was very beautiful and self-manifested. When they arrived on the scene, Vidyapati saw that Vishwasu opened the clock, gave him the ability to see the deity. But then Vishwasu got busy in doing his seva to the deity, doing his service to the deity. What was he doing? First he went and plucked the flowers from the forest. And he made a garland for the deity. Then he went and plucked fruits in the jungle. Whatever fruits he could get. He unplucked those fruits and wash them with the water from the lake and offer them to his feet. Krishna says, Patra Puspam Phalam, offer me a glass of water, leaf, water, I will accept it with love. So Krishna, you can offer Krishna according to your ability, whatever you have. But this doesn't mean that you eat out of silver plates, kachoris, pakoras, and rasgullas, and you tell Krishna, Krishna Patna Pasopam. It means that you offer Krishna according to your ability. If you're going to eat out of a golden plate or a silver plate, and offer Krishna a simple glass of water and tulsi leaf, it's not very healthy. So, Vidyapati saw that Vishwasu was taking the fruits. At that time, near the deity Madhav, there was a small lake. And next to the lake was a tree. On that tree there was a bird sitting, a crow. And Vidyapati saw this crow fell in the lake, died, and instantly took on a form of Vishnu, took on a transcendental form, and went zoom, like a rocket, went back to Godhead. So Vidyapati started meditating. The water of this lake is so pure. A crow fell, died, and in front of me went back to Godhead. Maybe I should commit suicide here. After all, what is there in material life? Material life is full of pain. Any intelligent man can see material life is full of pain. The materialists would like us to believe material life is full of joy, comfort, isn't it? Now there's a whole new theory being advanced in medical circles that don't give up sense gratification. In an Indian paper I read recently an article that showed how even in India, the adults are being encouraged to have partners and friends and so on. I was with an eye doctor in Baltimore last year, and he said, my mother loves India. She goes there regularly with her boyfriend. So I asked him, how old is your mother? She said, 86. So that is the concept of life in this part of the world, or in almost every part of the world now. The principle sense gratification attracts everyone. So there's nothing known as American culture. It's the universal culture of self-enjoyment. So Vidyapati was thinking, he saw the crow fall in the lake and take on this transcendental form and go back to God. So Vidyapati thought, I should also jump in this lake. After all, what is there in material life? It's nothing but full of pain and misery. Now I have a chance to go back to Godhead. Why should I avail of this? So he was contemplating jumping in the lake and committing suicide. He saw the crow fall in the lake, dying, and taken a transcendental full body. But then there was a divine voice that said, Vidyapati, don't be a coward. After all, you came here to look for Nilamada. Now you found Nilamada. Go back and tell the king where the deity is. So then Vidyapati gave up the concept, the thought of committing suicide. And he headed back to his house. But Vishwasu was very scared. Vishwasu tied him down. He said, now you've seen Nilmadhav. I'm afraid you'll go and tell people, tell the king where Nilmadhav is. Then he finally let him go. So Vidyapati came back to the king. king and told him that he has found Nilmadhav. He found him, he saw him, and it's true. That deity Nilmadhav is exceedingly beautiful. Nothing, it can't be described also. Sometimes you see something so beautiful, you say, there are no words to describe it. So he said, it can't be described. So the king was very happy. And because he had thrown the mustard seeds that grew into trees, he knew how to walk and reach the deity. He made a trail how the deity could be reached. So the king was very happy, overjoyed, and the king, accompanied by his army, proceeded towards Nilmadhav. Finally, they reached their destination, Nilmadhav. When they reached their destination, they saw, oh, Nilmadhav's not there. The deity is not there. The deity is disappeared. Initially, the king thought Vishwasu has played some game. That Vishwasu may have hidden the deity. So the king was very angry. He said, where is Nilmadhav? I've come here all the way to have darshan of Nilmadhav. He thought that Vishwasu has hidden the deity. But Vishwasu said, no, I have no idea where the deity is. And the king was very sad. The king said, I heard about Nilmadhav. Now I can't have darshan. I'm so sinful. He said, I'm going to fast to death. The nature of a devotee is, he doesn't blame others for his problems. Usually in today's society, we're always blaming others, isn't it? Because of you this happened, because of you this happened, because of you I lost money. When the devotee takes the blame upon himself, he holds himself responsible for everything. And if he's undergoing some suffering, he thinks, this is due to my karma, something to reaction. So the king was very sad that he could not have darshan of Nilmadhav. And as he was contemplating, fasting, a divine voice spoke to him and said, O king, now this deity of Nilmadhav has become unmanifested. Now this deity will appear in the form of Daru Brahman. Daru Brahman means wooden form. Now the deity is going to appear in a wooden form. And they will be a log of wood floating in the ocean. And he described the ocean with the markings that are there and the feet of Lord Vishnu. So the king proceeded to that location which was described by the divine voice. And when the king reached that destination, he saw, yes, there was a log of wood floating with all the symbols that were described. So the king tried to lift that log of wood. He couldn't lift it. It was too heavy. He told his army, lift this log of wood. They couldn't move. None of them could move the log of wood. It was so heavy. Then the king again felt very sad. Like, now, again, I'm missing the opportunity to see Nilmadhav. And then there was a divine voice that said, if you want this log of wood to move, bring a golden chariot and call my devotee, Vishwasu and Vidyapati. When they touch me, they'll be able to lift me. So the king at once arranged for a golden chariot. And Vidyapati and Vishwasu were called. And when Vishwasu and Vidyapati came, they gave ease. Lifted the log of wood, put it on the golden chariot, and took the chariot, log of wood, to the palace of the king. So now the king had the log of wood. Daru Brahman means wooden form. Daru means wood. But now somebody had to make a form of the Lord. Just like the deities that you see in your temple and other temples. Before they start, it's just a big marble slab. Sometimes we go to Jaipur to select the deities and order deities. You have to select the marble. It's a marble slab. Then they carve it, cut it, and then make a deity out of it. So the log of wood was there, but somebody had to make a form of the Lord. So the king invited many sculptors to make a form of the Lord. Every sculptor came, the moment they would touch their instrument to the wood, the instrument would break. No one could do anything. So the king was again very, very sad that now the wood is there, but there's no one can make. Then Vishwakarma. You heard of Vishwakarma? Who is Vishwakarma? The sculptor of the demigods. He builds the palaces of the demigods. Vishwakarma disguised himself as an old man, and he appeared on the scene. And Vishwakarma told the king, I will make a form of the Lord that you want. The king was very happy. But Vishwakarma said, I'll make a form of the Lord on one condition. It will take me 3 weeks and no one should come inside. I should be left all alone. If anyone comes inside and interrupts my work, I will stop. The king said, okay, I agree. So Vishwakarma locked the room, took that big log of wood, and started tick, 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 And the king was sitting at the door, ears pasted to the wall, to the door, hearing this tick, tick, tick. And hearing this tick, tick, tick was giving the king great pleasure. How many of you have seen the Hare Krishna land, Hare Krishna temple in New Bombay? Okay, there we go. So we have a beautiful temple in New Bombay. And when Prabhupada came to live there in 76 and 77, the building wasn't fully open. The temple was formally opened in January 1978. But Prabhupada's quarters, have any of you seen Prabhupada's quarters over there? So Prabhupada's quarters are on the 5th floor. So Prabhupada was living in the Prabhupada quarters. Now it's in museum. So Prabhupada was living on the 5th floor in his quarters, and downstairs the construction was going on. Tick, 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 tick. So Prabhupada was hearing this tick, tick, tick. He said, this is kirtan. This tick, tick, tick of breaking of stone, he said, this is kirtan. Because it gave Prabhupada such great pleasure where the temple of the Lord was being built. Like, now in Mayapur they're making a big TOVP. So when you go there, you hear all that heavy sound. It's kirtan. So, King Indradumna had his ears pasted to the wall and to the door, and he was hearing what? Tick, 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 tick. It gave him great joy. But then after 14 days, the tick, tick stopped. And the king what to do. He could not go in, because that was Vishwakarma's agreement. So the king was in great anxiety. So he consulted his ministers what to do. The ministers said, don't go in. If you go in, Vishwakarma will stop working. But then he consulted his wife, Gundicha. Gundicha said, no, you must go in. Let's go in and see what's happening. Maybe he's dead. We didn't give him any water or food to eat for 2 weeks. So, king opened the door. And when he opened the door, Vishwakarma was gone. But what he did see was the form of Jagannatha Balaram that you currently see in your temple. So when the king saw that form, because initially if you look at Jagannatha Balaram, it looks a little incomplete. No hand, no legs. Lord has no legs, but he roams all over the world. Through Rath Yatra. So, through the medium of ISKCON, more than, I would say, more than 150 Rath Yatras are held every year. In some big cities in India like Bombay and Delhi, we have like 10 to 15 Rath Yatras every year. I mean, one principal Rath Yatra, but the other Rath Yatras they have are as big as the principal Rath Yatra. So it's hard to see, it's hard to say which is the principal Rath Yatra anymore. Because all these Rath Yatras are also attractive. And Lord Jagannath is attractive everywhere. You know, there's Rath Yatras in every corner of the globe. So the king, when he saw this form of Jagannath, he was lamenting. He was lamenting that, why did I come in? Why did I should have waited for 21 days, as Vishwakarma said. Vishwakarma disappeared. But then Narada Muni appeared on the scene. And Narada Muni said, no, don't lament. This was the desire of the Lord, that if we worshipped in the form of Jagannath, Subhadra, and Balaram, we worshipped in this form. And this form is very traditional. And then these deities were installed by like Brahma. And the worship started in the temple. So Lord Jagannath is very merciful, very compassionate. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave a lot of prominence to the Rath Yatra festival. Lord Jagannath Lord Chaitanya had instructed his followers, his devotees, to go village to village, house to house and preach. But on the occasion of Rath Yatra, they were all allowed to come back. And Lord Jagannath, Lord Chaitanya used to organize 3 Rath Yatras. Your Rath Yatra was one chariot or 3? Okay. That's okay. So as you know, in Jagannath Puri there are 3 chariots. First is the chariot of Balaram, the older brother. Then in the chariot of Subhadra. And then in the chariot of Jagannath. Lord Chaitanya would organize 7 Sankirtan parties with each chariot. So you did not need a sound system. You know, they used to worry about a sound system in Rath Yatra. And usually the sound system fails. So, did they ever fail in your Rath Yatra? No? Okay. You are good managers. So anyway, the Lord Chaitanya would organize 7 Sankirtan parties. 4 in the front, 1 in the left, 1 in the back, 1 in the right, 1 in the back. There was a king called King Prataparudra. He was the king of Orissa. And he had this great desire to serve the Lord. So before the commencement of the Rath Yatra, he had a great desire to get an audience with Lord Chaitanya. First, he sent messages to Lord Chaitanya through Nityananda and through Damodar. The that I would like to have an audience with Lord Chaitanya. But Lord Chaitanya said, I'm a sannyasi, no shorter. I cannot give an audience to the king which should deal with women and money. So the king was heartbroken. And the king said, if Lord doesn't give me an audience, I am going to renounce my kingdom and wear an ivory ring to indicate that I'm a mendicant. And then, when the Lord refused to give him an audience, Lord Nityananda said, he took a cloth worn by the Lord and gave it to the king. And the king worshipped the cloth like he worshipped the Lord. The paraphernalia used by the Lord is also transcendental. But the king still wanted to see the Lord. And the Lord went on refusing. Then Nityananda said, okay, we'll take the son of the king to meet with the Lord. The son of the king had blackish complexion and same very attractive features like Krishna. So he was wearing a yellow silk sari, dhoti, and he was taken to Lord Chaitanya. And Lord Chaitanya saw him. He got reminded of Krishna. And he embraced him. And when he embraced him, he got surcharged with pure love of God. And then when he went back, his father asked him, so, what did Lord Chaitanya tell you? And then his father also got surcharged with love of God, just by being with the son. So, on the occasion of Rath Yatra, Lord Chaitanya saw the king Pratapuda was doing very menial service. What was he doing? He was sweeping the whole road with a golden broom. You have a golden broom sweeping the floor? We have a Rath Yatra in Ludhiana in North India. And that Rath Yatra, I would say, is one of the biggest after Jagannatha. So for that Rath Yatra, we have a golden broom now. At least it's not fully golden, but partially. But King Pratapuda had a pure gold broom. And after sweeping the road, he would wash the road, when the chariot would move, with rose water. And he would scrub the road himself. So when Lord Chaitanya saw that here was a king doing the job of a bhangi, sweeper, Lord Chaitanya was very pleased. He gave the king special vision. And the special vision was, Lord Chaitanya displayed superhuman activities also. God, when he appears, he performs superhuman activities. It's not so easy to be God. Jesus, you have people who say, I'm God, and they can't even do any magic. God performs superhuman magic. And some people can do a little magic and they say, I'm God. So, Lord Chaitanya displayed many superhuman activities, like he showed his Satbhuj form to Sarvabhaumacharya. So Lord Chaitanya had organized 7 kirtan parties with each chariot. And he expanded himself. He was present in all the 7 parties, dancing in great ecstasy. And every kirtan party was singing, I'm so fortunate, the Lord is dancing in my party. But only few selected devotees could see the Lord Chaitanya was simultaneously dancing in all the 7 parties. And one of the fortunate souls was King Pratapuda. The Lord was very pleased by his humility, so he gave him this special vision by which he could see this transcendental pastime of the Lord. So Lord Jagannatha is very, very compassionate, very merciful. There was a devotee in Jagannath Puri called Jagannath Misra. He was a panda. You know what's a panda? Like a guide. You go to Jagannath Puri, you get hit by many kites now.